I think facilitator is a long word to say, but it's very different to a leader, for example, because it indicates that you're not in charge, you're not telling people what to do, people are not looking up to you, because a leader indicates what's happening. You're looking up to them, or they look up to you, you're looking down at them. So there's a real kind of sense of equality within the group, and that's really crucial. If you come from the stance where I don't have all the answers, and it's not all down to me to kind of take charge of the group, if you allow yourself that, then you can just sit back and see what evolves within the group. And other men will have lots of answers and lots of things you're not even aware of. So therefore, that's just part. If you just allow yourself to kind of just sit back a bit, there's amazing things can happen amongst other men with each other without you perhaps even participating at all. Men come into a group, they're all going to come from all walks of life, all different experiences, and therefore some will be more aware about therapy or how the mind works or how the body works or well-being issues more than somebody else. So what we don't want men to be doing is diagnosing other men, assessing other men, and telling them, "Oh, I know what's going on for you," because they're aware, a bit more aware of things, and therefore, almost like preaching, this is what's wrong with you. This is what you need to do to fix yourself. We don't want that. We just want men to be able to share and talk and learn, not be sort of dictated to. Your participation is just as valid as anybody else's participation, even though you may have your role is slightly different because you're facilitating a bit. But there's no need to put yourself under pressure in terms of, I've got to know everything. I've got to get everything right. I can't make any mistakes. You're just the same as all other men. There's a real equality that needs to be kind of hit home as being a facilitator as part of a men's group. Coming from where I think about my role as facilitator, and I think it might be good for other facilitators to be aware of, is to give us some focus to what do men need from me for them to feel safe in the group. So something about, I mentioned a moment ago about maybe just setting some sort of guideline as to what happens. Allowing men to feel that they've got a bit of control in the group. So not just coming to a group to be told what to do. So they've got to be told they've got some sense of autonomy. At least that's got to be indicated, or at least transmitted, I think, communicated. So for example, they don't need to talk. So that needs to be made clear at the beginning. They can talk if they want to. If they feel something a bit triggering, a bit too much for them, then they can leave the room for a little bit. They need a little bit of time out. Well, some men are going to find it really difficult. They come in with a half dozen things that are going on, their struggles, and they're not going to just come into a men's group and just go, this is what's happening for me, because too much is too heavy, and it's really scary for them too. So just talking a little bit of small talk is crucial. It's just crucial. Just like a bit of silence might be really crucial, but then that might lead to a bit of silence of saying nothing, leading into a little bit of small talk. It's necessary to get men to feel at least a little bit more comfortable. And they can, I guess the comfortableness of that is that there's no pressure, the fact that they've got to talk about all the really serious stuff that's going on, that's brought them into the group in the first place. So yeah, but like seeds, something bigger will come from it. The facilitator's job is to tell men that you won't be judged here, and to indicate to all the men that we want to be non-judgmental. We want to show respect to others in the group in terms of what they're saying, allowing them to speak and not maybe talking over them, for example. Yeah, I do think it's absolutely crucial that men are given an awareness that what they're going to be saying stays within the room, so confidentiality is established. Even just down to people's names. Even we don't know what men might say outside the group, but at least if it's established within the group, there's a verbal agreement that what's said in the room stays in the room, allows men to perhaps just disclose a bit more than they might normally do. Obviously, we set some parameters around if they are, due to harm themselves, risk to themselves or others, then we might need to discuss that outside of the group separately and give them the support they might need outside of that. Okay, well, I'm very much aware, as you may be too, watching this, is that there are a whole range of different kinds of men's groups out there. Some more practically minded, using the hands-on stuff. Others are about the outdoors, walking, climbing, whatever it might be. And they're all great spaces for men to talk about stuff in that kind of very casual, informal kind of way. The group that I'm involved with, the kind of men's space, isn't about that. It's more about talking and listening. So it's about sitting together. So if someone's saying something, the whole group hears it, as opposed to maybe in other environment, men's groups, where it might just be one-to-one, which is great in its own right. When it's a whole group, then you've got a wider audience, and that might feel intimidating at the beginning. But I know, as a facilitator, I know that more men will benefit listening to what a particular individual's got to say. And the chances are then too, that individual might get some feedback. Men have got different issues, but there's often very, very common issues too. Especially around relationships, for example, a very key one. So I think the talking space can allow men to perhaps disclose more and get more from it. Even though you're still listening, you're also beginning to very automatically start processing some of your own stuff. And that can allow you then to perhaps verbalize that in response. Because once we start thinking stuff, processing it and voicing it, then we get clarity ourselves and we get a better understanding what's really going on for us. So if it's 10 men in the group and we listen to 9 others, then there's a lot that can go on for us. Almost like, beneath the water as such, the fact that we may not be saying anything, but there's a lot going on, and that can be quite taxing too. It's very easy to spot someone who's perhaps quite quiet initially, and then don't say a great deal. They might just throw the headlines out in terms of some of the things going on for them, but after a while, the more comfortable they feel, and they perhaps see others talking a bit more depth about their issues, then they become quite vocal themselves. So that's one area, the fact that they end up talking more about their own issues, and that's obviously very beneficial for them. But another form of growth, which is very, very stark for me, is the fact that men can very quickly get into a position where they want to help. They want to help others in the group. So someone's got something going on, and they might have some suggestions or even just advice, and that's fine too. But yeah, they want to. So that's part of the bonding, I guess, is supporting. They want to support as much as possible. That's great. Part of the facilitator's job, I guess, is to help manage and help try and create as best of a balance as possible between men getting stuff out of their systems, but at the same time not being so negative or toxic or so judgmental of other people in society, whether that be a woman, for example, because relationships are bound to crop up, and they do crop up. So yeah, we don't want to just have, let's just have an anti-woman conversation, because that's not healthy either. By all means, we want men to talk about if they've got an issue with a woman in a relationship, for example, and other men can share their views, but this isn't about damning women full stop. But like any other issues I bring up, it's a question of a healthy kind of sharing, a healthy kind of listening, a healthy connection, but understanding themselves better by the fact that they managed to talk about it. So it's not a question of getting your soapbox and just having a rant, because that's not healthy. Silence is important. I would just think, as a facilitator, it's useful to yourself to be silent. If there's some pauses, don't feel as if you've got to fill the gaps, because it's not about that. Silence is important for giving men a chance to just process some of the thoughts. Believe me, if there's a little bit of silence going on, and 10 seconds can feel like a long time, but a lot of the men are processing stuff, they're thinking things. Just give people a bit of a time. I mean, when you're facilitating, I think it's really useful to have somewhere else to go to just talk maybe some things through, because let's face it, it's okay not to be okay in a group, because some things we might find very challenging ourselves. And if we have somebody else within the men's group, whoever's running the group, we can just go to as a bit of peer support, that would be ace, that's fantastic. But if that's not possible, because if you're kind of working on your own, or you're running the group, then it's very useful to think about who in my life can I go to, just to kind of offload some stuff and have a little bit of debrief, and just talk through some of the things that you might be finding challenging. Yeah, I think there is a void in terms of men in general of being supportive and really giving a pat on the back for somebody who's doing well, someone really positive, whatever it might be, whatever it is, sporting environment, working environment, personal environment. And with men's groups, I think it's really good to at least encourage, not encourage men, but at least as a facilitator, you can give some positive vibes back to somebody, and that can be a really good role model for other men who, perhaps in other walks of life, they're not used to that praising of somebody else who's doing well or even better than them because of the competitive nature of men in general. So it's crucial men don't feel alone. So whether it be with their struggles, but also in their achievements, albeit very small achievements, the fact that they can almost feel, well, I haven't left the house for a week, but now I left the house this morning, can feel really small to somebody outside of their environment. So it's really crucial for that particular individual to get really positive encouragement from others in the group, who really endorses what they're doing and validates what they're doing. I mean, we can't measure the impact of positive support for what men are, or acknowledgement of what men are achieving. So if they're doing something positive in life, getting that kind of endorsed by other men, that is just fantastically huge. And the sense of achievement that a man can feel, the fact that they're hearing from others how good something seemingly small is, that's unbelievable. If you're thinking of starting a men's group, don't make things complicated for yourself. Don't put barriers up and hurdles up along the lines of, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. It's just a question, if you're willing to dedicate some time, then things will happen, because you're going to commit to starting a group with other men, just getting men together, and things can naturally evolve. They don't need you as a facilitator to set everything out and map everything out and have a massive structure, because that just creates pressure and it creates hurdles and puts you off starting a group. Just go for it. One thing might put you off starting a group is that I've got to get everything right. If you're going to put some time in, get a group started and be willing to kind of just check in with yourself, review, how's it going? What's the location right? Is that right? Is this room right? Is the timing right? Do you need to change that? So allow yourself flexibility to change and adapt, because no one's going to get the way right first time. I mean, it's one thing you thinking that I might want to start a group, but I'm thinking, well, nobody else I know wants to do that. But that doesn't stop you from talking to mates, talking to colleagues, talking to family members about some of your ideas, just to give you some support and to give you some kind of wider lens to kind of go for it, rather than just sort of putting obstacles up in terms of, I don't know what I'm doing. The more you can talk to others, the more confident you'll feel, not necessarily having a plan, because that's not necessary, but the more confident you'll feel, well, I can give this a go. Obviously, facilitating a group, I'm there to help other men. But that's not to say I don't get something from that too, because I do. I like to give to others as much as possible. I want to learn and grow myself. So by talking to other men, it allows me to kind of tap into my own stuff, and I can reflect on my own stuff and talk about my own things, my things too, in a way maybe I didn't before. No matter how much therapy I might have had myself, it doesn't matter. You can still learn about yourself from others. So I get a real buzz, a real kick out of still learning about myself, but at the same time being in the men's space, because I don't have that space. It's one thing being in a sports team, but it's not the same. Being able to be in the men's space where you can just talk and be yourselves and be open and really help each other through some challenging, difficult stuff. That's great for me too. It may seem a very simple thing for facilitators and maybe irrelevant, but it's useful to think, well, how can I help men just feel a bit more comfortable, and therefore getting there a bit earlier, if able to set up, boiling the kettle or having some tea or coffee or milk around so they have a hot drink or some water. Very basic needs, but that can just make men feel a bit more at home. I think I'll have a brew, and that can add them to the chit chat. So just something simple as that, just before a meeting starts, can go a long way.